everybody. Thanks for joining me for yet another episode. So today's episode, we're going to talk about parenting during your healing journey. When we think about parenting, it can be very challenging, but yet it's a beautiful thing. Raising these tiny humans to be young men and young ladies into grown women and grown men. So parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child or your children at that time. So one thing all parents need to ensure when they are parenting is just to determine the parenting style that you want to inherit when raising these kids. And with your parenting style and whichever parenting style that you choose, make sure that it is supporting healthy growth and development, because the way that we interact with our child or with our children and how we discipline them has a long life effect on them. And you have to look at even people that you interact with, or if this hits home to your own personal life. How many times do we always sit around and reminisce about our childhood, how we grew up? We have good memories, we have bad memories. So you have to look at it when we are raising our own children, especially when we are in the midst of dealing with our own traumas or healing, because I said once before, not all trauma is childhood trauma. We go through things as adults that can be traumatic for us, and we still have to be parents. So if you are brought up in a bad, unhealed, traumatic parenting style, or you have parents that is just negative, it is highly that your parenting style will be similar to that of your parents. So it's important to possibly to heal from toxic parents, grow and evolve into a better person, which is why it's easy just to release and let go, and just try not to adapt those beliefs or those parenting styles, because you see how it affected you. You don't want your child to grow into that. So just look out for just 5 toxic parenting styles, whether you see this in yourself or if you see this in your partner, or just to look out for, just to make sure that you're not exhibiting these behaviors when you are parenting your children. So you have one parent style that they never affirm or praise you. So you may already know this from experience, but most toxic parenting styles is often like self-absorbed. These parents are self-absorbed and most likely didn't take the time to affirm or praise you while you were growing up. Their needs came first, and they expected you to meet and cater to those needs no matter what. The consequences of this behavior is that you may find yourself often feeling inadequate, and with the unhealthy, obsessive desire to please others, you become a people pleasers. People that grow up with these type of parents. And then you have the other type of toxic parents that expect their child to take responsibility for them. No child should ever have to bear the burden of parenting their own parents. And we have a lot of these out here. Toxic parents don't see it that way. To them, you exist to serve them all the time. The relationship is wrong and parasitic in nature. As a child, it took away your childhood and forced you to grow and take responsibility you had no business bearing on. It's so many children out here that is raising their siblings or raising their parents because their parents are just inadequate. They're not very good parents. And then you have the other parenting lifestyles that they condemn their children and force them to justify unacceptable behavior. Like this, the one right here. It's like you have parents that blame their children for their own mistakes. You may have grown up repeatedly hearing things like, if it weren't for you, I'd be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. I don't like that, because as children, they didn't ask to be here. We made the conscious decision. Now, I know there's a lot of people that is not for abortions, which is fine, but you have to use protection. You have to protect yourself, because when people think of protecting themselves when they having sexual encounters, they think of STDs or STIs. But also pregnancy, unwanted pregnancies. And I know mistakes happen and things happen. But if you're not protecting yourself, you're not trying to protect against this happening, how can you blame the child? So in that case, when a lot of kids go through this, it make them believe that you were to blame for the parents, the mistakes, your parents' drinking problems, substance abuse, or whatever unacceptable behavior your parents engaged in, because you feel everything is your fault, because they are pretty much saying it's your fault, which is the accountability phase. That parent is not taking accountability for their actions, which means they blaming you, which means everything else that goes wrong in their life, they're going to blame the other. And then you have that children that grow up in this toxic parenting environment, they have an abnormal, elevated sense of fear. And that's just because they like are around just so much negativity, animosity, tension, chaos, that they are just fearful. Versus children that are raised in a loving family tend to have healthy fears of their parents, which stems out of respect and love, which is my mom won't be here. So, and then you have another one, the feelings don't matter to them, only theirs do. So in a normal family situations, parents are concerned about how their children are doing and what they are feeling. But if you got that toxic parenting style, have those parents that are just toxic, on the other hand, don't care about your feelings at all. Only their feelings matter. Consequently, as a child growing up in this type of environment, you learn to suppress and hide your hurt, your anger, and your sadness, which it comes out later. It comes out later in life, and that's why you're dealing with so many people with all these childhood traumas and these built up feelings and built up tensions, because they don't know how to, they was never given a safe space to let it go. So then it's like they turn into this person with holding up all these feelings and tension. They don't know how to release them. It comes out wrong. It's called just having everything in there, and it's going to come out like a volcano. And when you think of toxic parenting styles, it was invented to describe parents whose negative behaviors inflict devastating emotional damage, which wrecks their child's sense of self. We're going to take a quick break. Be back in a moment. Hey, y'all. So we are back now. So before that little break, we was talking about toxic parenting. And when you think about being a toxic parent, those are parents that abuse their child or children verbally, psychologically, physically, or sexually, as well as parents who aren't present or sensitive to their child emotional needs. And people neglect. I know it's easier for us to say, I'm glad the mother or the father is not in their life. I'd rather them be absent than my child be here and hurt. But we have to look at it as parents that our kids are going to be hurt no matter what, because they're going to question why their mom or why their dad is not in their life. Or if you are in a life and you are just negative and causing this chaos and tension, they're going to beat themselves up thinking that they was the reason, like before I said. Like, start blaming themselves for they parents' drug or alcohol abuse, different things like that. So we just have to be mindful. And that's why healing is so important. Self-care is so important. Like, facing anything that you have going on is so important, because you do not want that to flow over to our children. We do not want that to flow over to them. We want to teach them love. We want them to see the world with loving, caring eyes and be confident in who they are. Be emotionally stable, mentally stable, because that means the world to them, and it'll mean the world to us as parents. So I just want to go into just the 4 types of parenting style that a lot of us may have. And when you think about the parenting styles and their effects on our kids, like, parenting styles can affect Everything from how much your child weighs to how he or she feels about herself. It's important to ensure that your parenting style is supporting healthy growth, like I said before, and development, because the way you interact with your child and how you discipline them influences his or her for the rest of their life. So different parenting styles you may have is the authoritarian, the authoritative, the permissive, and the uninvolved. So when I think about the authoritarian parenting style, you have to look and see if anything resonates with you. Do you believe your kids should be seen and not heard? When it comes to rules, do you believe it's my way or the highway? Or you don't take your child's feeling into consideration? And then when you think about these different parenting styles, you can be all four, you could be two of them, or you could just be one of them. So you could fall under any one of these categories. It's still, So with the authoritarian parenting style, you might believe like your kids should follow the rules without exceptions. Because most of the authoritarian parenting is they kids can't ask no questions. They can't know the reason behind certain things. It's always because I said so. And the parent is not interested in negotiating. And their focus is on like obedience, period. Nothing more, nothing less than that. And they also don't allow their kids to get involved in problem solving, challenging, or obstacles. Instead, they make rules and enforce the consequences with little regard for a child's opinion. And when we think about our kids, they are little people as well. They are their own individuals, persons. We have our personality and our children have theirs. So we have to leave room for them to express their feelings, emotions, and like just be able to talk to you. Have an open door policy, but also know that I am mommy or I am daddy. It's still a line you shouldn't cross, but go ahead and express yourself. Let me know how you feel. How did mommy make you feel today? How was your day today? Who made you angry? Just different things like that. Because they are not us and we are not them. They have our genetics. They have our genes. They might have some of our personality. And that's another thing. If they do, they are just exhibiting who you are. So children who grow up with strict authoritarian parents tend to follow rules much of the time, but their obedience comes at a price. They are at higher risk of developing self-esteem problems because their opinions aren't valued. And you don't want a child with self-esteem problems. Then when they get older, we trying to figure out what's wrong with them. Who raised them? You raised them. Then you have the authoritative parenting. And most of these parents, you put a lot of effort into creating and maintaining a positive relationship with your child. You explain the reasons behind your rules. You enforce rules and give consequences, but takes your child's feelings into considerations. And if you are an authoritative parent, most of these parents have rules and they have consequences, and they use consequences with the rules. But they also take the child's opinions into account. They validate their child's feelings while also making it clear that the adults are ultimately in charge. The authoritative parents invest time and energy into preventing behavior problems before they start. They also use positive discipline strategies to reinforce positive behavior. Like they praise them, they reward them, and they use a system method with kids because kids love that. And most kids with these type of parenting styles are found to have authoritative parents are more likely to become responsible adults who feel comfortable expressing their opinions. And most children also tend to be happy and successful. They're also more likely to be good at making decisions and evaluating safety risks on their own. So, authoritative parenting, there you go. You have the permissive parenting. These are the parents that set the rules but rarely enforce them. You don't give out consequences very often, and you think your child will learn best with little interference from you. So most of the permissive parentings, they are very lenient, and they often only step in when there's a serious problem. So they're quite forgiving, and they adopt the attitude of kids will be kids. And when they do use consequences, they may not make those consequences stick. They might get privileges back if a child begs, or they may allow a child to get out of time, or out early if promises to be good. So most of permissive parenting usually take on more of a friend role than a parent role. They often encourage their children to talk with them about their problem, but they usually don't put much effort into discouraging poor choices or behavior. So most kids who grow up with these type of parents are more likely to struggle academically. And that's just because you giving them that room to do stuff, but it's no structure. And kids need structure and they need organization. But a lot of these key points are good. You teach them to be very independent, but they don't know what independence is at a certain stage in their childhood. And then you have the uninvolved parents. And these are the parents that don't ask your child about school or homework, rarely know where your child is or who she or he is with, and you don't spend much time with your child. So when you think of these parents, the uninvolved parents tend to have little knowledge of what their child or children is doing, and they tend to be few rules. Children may not receive much guidance, nurturing, or parental attention. And most of these uninvolved parents expect their children to raise themselves pretty much. They don't devote much time or energy into meeting children's basic needs. And they may be neglectful, but it's not always intentional. A parent that is battling like mental health issues, substance abuse problems, may not be able to care for the child physically or emotionally. And the needs are not consistently, it's not met. Because how can you care for someone when you can't even care for yourself because what you're going through? And this is why mental health is very important. This is why I push journaling. If you don't have nobody to talk to or you don't want to talk to nobody, you journal. Find you a life coach, a therapist, psychologist, counselor, whoever, to get this stuff out. Get that weight off of you. Because when you are trying to parent during your healing journey, but you have so much going on, and you got to think, as parents, we not only have to worry about ourselves, but we have to worry about our children and their lives, our household, keeping a roof over their head, keeping food on the table, clothes on their back, making sure the lights on, making sure that they are going to school, making sure that they are doing good in school, on top of dealing with our own mental health, our own struggles, going to work if we have to, running these businesses. Just talking about that, y'all, I am exhausted, but that's what we go through. So it's okay to get that balance. It's okay if we have bad days as parents. We are not going to be 100% every single day, but it's just making sure that you get all of these issues, check all them boxes, and just be more mindful and more focused on the type of parenting style that you are exhibiting when we are raising these children, because one day they're going to be adults out here in this world, and we want to prepare them to deal with life journey. We want to prepare them for life challenges. Just prepare them for what's out here. Because it's so much out here, and it could be overwhelming, and it could be scary. And sending kids out here in this world and don't have no structure or no organizational skills or no discipline, it can get chaotic for them. But I want mommies and daddies out there to know that we are doing the best that we can. You are a bomb. And don't look at what I discussed today as putting yourself in one box. Because like I said, we all can exhibit every type of parenting style in 1 week. Day one, we could be the best parent. The second day, we could try to be the best friend. I don't have time to be a parent today. The day 3, we could be like, okay, now, how's you feeling today? Day 4, we can be, so every day is different. But you got to think, we wake up every day and we can start over. We wake up every day and we can figure it out. Don't bring your worries from yesterday into today's. Mistakes are going to be made. It happens. Because we not only have to worry about our own lives, but other people's lives as well that we brought into this world. But it's important just to be mindful and to be understanding of the help that you need when you need it. You have to. We have to. Thank you all for listening to me today. This was a lengthy episode. Until next time, peace.